Alright, it's about 7:45. I'm back over here at John's. Sun's just now coming out, so I'm going to work till about 2 or 3. And then I'll be back later this afternoon. The last video you seen, everything's in. There's people on there talking about, why didn't I use the original cross member? Why didn't I do this? Trust me, I tried. It wouldn't work. Nothing worked, and it would not put the engine where I need it to be. And if you look, as far as your spindle location or where the engine's located, the further down and the further back you get it, the more stable the car is going to be at speed. So there's a lot of factors that played into why I did what I did, as far as making a cross member, making my own mounts for the engine, putting the engine where I put it. There's a lot of stuff that went into all that. So I still got safety glasses on my head. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that went into that, and I explained that to people and explained it to everybody. And one fellow was like, why did you weld the motor mounts in? And I was like, because if you've ever seen them come apart with a turbo car, or break one or pull one loose or strip the bolt or anything like that, these cars are making a lot of power and they're quick. And you do not want anything moving around in a car like that. You just I've done enough of this stuff to know what needs to be done, basically. It's as simple as that. I mean, bolting them in works, but you weld them in there and they will not move. They do not twist. They just stay exactly where you put them. And that's what I got to have with this combination. I just want this thing to be as stable and as good as it can be for John. So, yeah. All the decisions and everything that I do, people, there's a reason for it. Trust me. So I tore up enough stuff and wrecked enough stuff to know, the reason behind why I'm doing what I'm doing. So there ain't nothing wrong with commenting and questioning. I don't mind a bit to reply back to people and tell them, oh yeah, there's this, there's that. But there's a reason for everything. There's a means to my madness. But yeah, so I am fixing to start fuel system deal. Since I got the engine where I want it, the trans where I want it, everything's where I want it to be. I'm gonna start doing the fuel system, drop the tank, figure out what's going on with the sending unit. Could be a ground, could be a number of things. I'll try to fix that. Then I'm gonna drill a hole in the tank and put the return bung in it and start laying out the fuel system for this deal. Before I gotta pull the engine and trans one more time to put all the final weld. Like, everything's welded, it's all like welded in, it's not gonna move. But I gotta get in there on the lower side of the motor mounts and weld them all the way around the cross member in the front, so that thing cannot move, cannot come out, will not break, nothing like that. So yeah, that's what I will be doing. But first I want to get the fuel system mocked up and figured out and all that good. Just keep plugging along. But yeah, anybody ever has any questions on the videos and stuff I post on this stuff, feel free to comment. I don't care. Even if you hate what I'm doing and you think it's stupid, tell me. I don't care. It don't bother me not one bit. If people like it, cool. If they don't, that's cool too. I'm good with it. It don't bother me a bit. People think I'm stupid. People think I'm smart. I don't care. I know what I am. And my proof of things is in the pudding. So, done quite a few combinations. Fast stuff. But yeah, that fellow that was talking about the cross member, turns out he turned out to be a really cool fella. He's got a stock bottom end small block Chevy. He's fixing to cram 30 pounds of boost on top of it, and I'm sure there's people that's telling him, that won't do it, it won't take that, and I'm telling you it will. You get the rings the way they need to be gapped, and creep up on the tune, go fat and low on timing and creep up on it. Turbo stuff is not like naturally aspirated stuff, and it's not like nitrous stuff. It's not slapping the rotating assembly, so you can make more power with more boost than you could with a naturally aspirated deal or a nitrous deal, simply because it's not hitting the bottom end so hard. And I tell people that, they're like, oh, you can't run cast crank, cast rods and stuff like that. Is it recommended to do that? No. Can you? Yes, I have. We have pushed the stock bottom end stuff to the limit, and it'll take more than what you think it will. We're talking 20 pounds of boost, 800, 900 horse, and they're taking it and staying together as long as your tune is correct. As long as you got enough fuel volume for something like that, you got your fuel pressure and stuff set, the boost curve and stuff on the fuel pressure, and as long as you're not going too lean and you're not going crazy with the timing, like I said, creep up on it. It'll work fantastic. But there's a fellow on it that commented on one of the videos that I've never seen him comment on anything before, so he must be a new subscriber or whatever. And he was talking about that. He said that they used to do it in the old days. They'd, you know, slap a 250 shot of nitrous on a wore out old, you know, small block, and it would take it. And that's true. We've done that too. So the only issue you run into with nitrous and stock cranks and stuff is deflection. The crank will start wobbling. It's not really wobbling, but it gets distorted, and the deflection of all that will happen with the nitrous stuff, and that's usually what'll hurt the bottom end of an engine with nitrous, the stock bottom end. With, you know, cast crank and cast rods and stuff like that. That and RPM. The biggest killer of a small block engine is RPM. Like if you keep them things below 7, they will run and go and go and go. As long as you set everything up right, they'll go and go and go and live for, you know, indefinitely. You start turning them, like really winding them out, that's when they let go. And so rod bolts will let go, or the rods themselves, or, you know, the bearing gets spun and anything like that. But that's what I was talking about with this combination. I went with all forged internals, everything, and there's people that's questioning, oh, that block won't take that, that block won't do this and won't do that. But I'm telling you it will. Done it time after time after time. So that fellow that commented on there, he's got a 89 Camaro, I believe it is. That is awesome. So folks out there that are doing that, you know, pushing the stock stuff to the limit, pushing everything to the limit of what it'll take, that's cool. That's what we've been doing forever. See how far you can push the budget stuff, you know. But if you have the means and you have the money and you're going to put one together, buy forged stuff. Trust me, it'll save you in the long run. And if you ever have an issue or something fails or malfunctions, it won't hurt your engine. You know, 9 times out of 10, it won't hurt your engine. Which is why, like I said in the other videos, I run a very mild head gasket. A head gasket that will actually fail before it hurts anything in the bottom end, so that you have a fail safe. But hey, that's cool. I'm all about that, pushing old junk to its absolute limit. That's what we've been doing since we started all this crap. So yeah, push it till you can't push no more. But all right, there's my little rant. So that's pretty cool. It's just good to see people out there still doing it. Everybody's gone LS. There's nothing wrong with the LS. LS are cool platforms. I don't like them. I mean, they're good and stuff like that, but I am a small block, big block Chevy guy. Have been, always will be. I've, you know, dabbled around with LS stuff here and there, but I don't care for it. I like a good old small block, and a properly built good old small block, even with the same stock internal parts as like what an LS would have, will make the same kind of numbers if the tune is right. So that's what it all comes down to, your tune. Everything in the engine and the tune and how you set the ring gap up. Got to get the rings, and you got to keep an eye on the plugs and keep an eye on the AFRs. I was telling a fella earlier, I told him how to set up his carburetor. It's a 650 blow through. I think it's on a 5.0, I think his name's Brawler Mustang or something like that. And I told him how to put a bass tune in the carburetor to modify it for blow through. You can look at the Hangar 18 mods and stuff. That's pretty close. It's not really, it's more of a generalized tune. That's not going to get you the most power. But I told him what I thought, you know, as far as what his combination was, what I thought it would do, and he said he slapped that in there. Said car's running fantastic, running great. And then he sent me what the AFRs were, and I told him drop the jets down one more size, keep the power valve restriction exactly like it is. And so he's probably going to do that, and he'll probably be able to tell when he hits that, like he's got a wideband, but you can tell in an engine when you hit that happy spot where that engine's the happiest. It sounds so much more aggressive. It sounds so much cleaner, you know, under boost up top. So it's so cool that people are out there taking like what I post up and things that I say and stuff like that, and using it and applying it, and it's working for them. So that is so cool. We didn't have nobody to show us nothing. Like Dad showed me how to build engine stuff, but as far as turbo things and boost things and, you know, engine dynamics and all, I had to teach myself. And what I tell people and what I know is from experience and doing it and learning it and knowing what works and what don't. So that's really cool that people are taking stuff like that and applying it, and it's working for them, and they're having fun with their cars. But anyway, I'm going to shut up and get to work, get another thing. I got to do a bunch of cleaning, a bunch of painting, and mock up some fuel system and drop the tank and all that. So that's what's fixing to happen. Get back to work on this Pontiac. All right, got the tank out. Alright, I got the regulator mounted and figured out and the plumbing figured out. Here's my feed and that is my return. Feed and return. Before anybody freaks out because these have clamps on them, these are diesel fuel line clamps. They are extremely strong and they're made for high pressure. And these are slip lock, well, push lock fittings in this regulator. So what that means is that when you press them on, they lock into place and they're good to 150 psi. But I still put clamps on them anyway because a buddy of mine had a truck. He put an LS in it and it had about 75 pounds of fuel pressure when he got on it. And it had the cheap push locks on it and they blew off. So anytime I do a push lock, which I love a push lock, it's way better than having to make all the AN fittings and all that stuff. They won't come off. Once they're on there, man, you have to cut them back off. But I always put a clamp on them anyway, and I buy those. These are really good, expensive clamps for fuel injection units, diesel deals, and stuff like that. So, get this wiring out of the way so you can actually see. Yeah, there it is. And it ain't mounted, it's mounted to the firewall with a bracket, so NHRA, IHRA, they would be like, yeah, that's fine. As long as it's not stuck on the firewall, it has to be out away from the firewall. But yeah, that's my fuel line for the carburetor is going to come out right here. My fuel pressure is going to go up to right there, and then the boost reference is going to come from the hat, out of the back of the hat, straight to there, and that's the perfect location. I was going to put it over here, but I didn't want it around all the heat from the turbo. So, but yeah. So before anybody freaks out, those are push lock. Like I said, 150 psi, and with diesel hose clamps on it, which is all high pressure stuff. So it ain't them little crappy swivel, you know, hose clamps that you buy at Harbor Freight for $2. No, they ain't them. They're expensive. I think it's like $25 for a set of 8 of them. But they are, like I said, anytime I use a push locks are fine. You don't have to put clamps on them, but I put clamps on them anyway just for extra security. So that's looking good. Alright, I got the fuel system figured out. I got the regulator and the plumbing that goes down to the pump back here. Yeah, see? There's the feed, there's the return. It's coming out. Like I said, these are press lock fittings. So, I'll put the clamps on them anyway. This is not. This is just clamped on there. It's a nice tight fit. But as far as everything right there, it's all push lock with clamps on it for security. But what comes out of here is only going to be max of 20 psi. What's going to be in the regulator is about 55 to 60. So, all right, regulator stuff is plumbed. Everything is looking good. Check this out. If that ain't awesome looking. Plugging right along, man. Plugging right along. I gotta order some more line. But go from there to the hard line, back to the tank, or to the pump, then from the pump to the tank, which I got the tank laying right over there. So I'm gonna go into the back of the car since I got this plumbed. I'm gonna start moving my way back. All right, I'm about to get over here and start cleaning all this and paint all this. All that frame and stuff. I got all that frame and all that stuff cleaned up with a wire brush. Got all the rust and stuff stripped off of it in the old paint. So now we get here and start coating this sucker. Man, there's a lot of wire brushing. Probably under 45 minutes an hour, just wire brushing and wire brushing and wire brushing. And then painting. But look at her now. She is pretty now. All cleaned up, all painted. All nice. So much better. Give you an idea what it was like. Look back here at the back. See all that? That's what it was like. And you wire brush all that surface rust off and you put about 2 or 3 coats of paint on it and it, look at that. Nice, ugly. Nice, ugly. See the other side. Oh. Very nice. All right, here's where I'm going to put the return. Right there. Let me show you what it looks like. This is it right here. What you do is you take this right here, you drill a hole that size in your gas tank, that goes in, and you hold this side and you tighten that, and it wedges this out and seals it in there. So, that's what I'm gonna do. Alright, see that slides in there, there's an O-ring that goes right here, and that just slides in the hole nice and tight. Then you clamp onto this, tighten that up. Work, check it out. Sealed right up. Perfect. All right, that works. I gotta order I gotta order some more line. But that fixed, the fuel system figured out, got all this mounted up, got everything. Pretty good day right there. Pretty good. All right, back over here, I'm working on Ventura again. We got the oil feed line to the turbo, all figured out. Nice AN line, black with good fitness. Now I'm back here. Got to put the tank and stuff back in, but I got to clean all this up and paint all under here before I put the tank in it. So this is going to take me a while to get all this cleaned and painted, but it has to be done. It's awful. Yeah, all that. Let's see what I've got done and what I haven't. Alright, I got all underneath here cleaned and painted. All that cleaned and painted. Still I'm gonna do the leaf springs when I do the cow tracks and stuff. But all that's cleaned and painted in there. I did a ohm reading on the sending unit. Sending unit's working. Got the tank all cleaned and painted, got it up in there. Got all that cleaned and painted. So, we're getting her. It just takes forever to clean all this stuff with a wire brush and paint it, but we're getting it. So now that I got the tank in with the bung, I can do the filter. Got a 100 micron filter that goes to the fuel pump. Got to go from the filter to the pump, then from the pump up to the regulator. So I'm gonna get over there and do that now. All right, it is almost 9:30. But I got the fuel lines run from the tank up to the filter, 100 micron filter, then to the pump, right there. Now all I can do is go from that to the regulator and then do the return line. And the fuel system will be plumbed and done. I put it back here because there's nowhere back there low enough to where it'll actually pick up the fuel. That pump has to be lower than the tank. So right there, it's lower than the tank, and it should, once it starts sucking, should gravity, and it's also made to lift. It's storming pretty good. But it's also made to lift the fuel. So they said with about 40 inches up or down, and it should be able to pull the fuel. So that's why I got it run that way. I use the hard line. It comes out of the tank, goes to a piece of rubber coupler with the high pressure fittings and stuff on it, but there's no pressure in this yet. It's not till the pump that you get high pressure. So everything past the pump has to have the push lock fittings and all that stuff, which is what it's got. But going to the pump, it's not pressurized. It doesn't get any pressure till it hits the pump. So all that feed to it it's just hard line with rubber comes out right there and rubber right here, but you can't have no more than 12 inches of rubber in the whole system. So if he wants to go to NHRA or IHRA, make a pass or something with it, that's what they'll look for. And the fuel rail, the fuel lines have to be on the outside of the frame rail. So it can't be cut in half by the flex plate or flywheel or anything like that. It's just part of the rules. But yeah, I got it right there. Now I'm going to continue on. I got the gas tank in, everything painted, everything cleaned up. I still got to do the leaf springs, but I'm going to do the leaf springs when I'll drop the rear end and stuff out of it and clean all that up. But yeah, that's a pretty good lick. Getting all that cleaned up and everything painted, and then get the gas tank cleaned up, painted, get it put in there, get the lines run, get the pump mounted, get the filter. And this filter, another reason I went with a piece of rubber line between that, you can crimp that off before the filter, and you can change this filter. You can pull it out, clean it, buy a new filter and put in it, and it's just a pretty much a permanent filter. It's not like the little cheapos that you get, you know, at AutoZone or whatever else. This sucker, I think, was like $68 for that filter. Maybe it's 45 bucks. It's like 40 or 60 bucks. But it comes with fittings and everything else. It's a pretty good deal. 100 micron. You got to have the filter before the pump. So it'll filter all the trash, and then it goes to the pump, and then the pump goes to the regulator. But I'm going to call it right there for tonight. But yeah, that's a pretty good lick. So I'm going to keep plugging along. Tomorrow I got to go work on Dave's car. Then I'll be back over here probably tomorrow afternoon. Never ends, but that's my life. Alright, I did the fuel system the other day, and it was pretty good, but I got different fittings. I got one to come out straight and one to come out at 90 here, so I could run this a little nicer and a little further away from everything. But these are the push lock, and I always put clamps on them. I've said that before, but I always put these high pressure clamps on them just because. The push locks work fantastic, but now you got an extra secure clamp on them, and these are the ones for high pressure fuel injection stuff. So it's just, they're rated to 120 or 150 psi before they'll, I don't even think they would blow off at that, but they're rated to 120 to 150 psi. But I always put the clamps on them on top of that, simply because, I mean, you never know, anything could happen, which, I don't know, I just put the clamps on them. But these are the fittings. Yeah, see, they're push lock. They are tough to get in there, and once you get them in the hose, you can't pull them back out. You have to cut the hose in order to get them back out. So you got to make sure everything's right before you push them together. So the chances of them blowing off is pretty much impossible, but I put clamps on them anyway just to be safe. Because a buddy of mine had push locks. He had the really cheap push locks. They were the blue push locks you get from like Jegs. They weren't braided line, and his blew off. It was an LS deal, and one of his blew off and got gas all over everything and caught on fire and burned his vehicle to the ground. So he didn't have no clamps on, but ever since then I put clamps on. But this thing ain't nowhere near that kind of pressure, nowhere near it. But still, little extra security won't hurt nothing. But this is the return. You always want to run the return to the bottom side of the tank, to where it's going to be in the fuel, so you don't get aeration and all that mess. Alright, there's the lines. Come up. This is the return line. This is the feed line. Come up, down to the filter, to the pump, up to the regulator, and back through the regulator, return back to the tank. Alright, anybody that buys one of these kits, it's a good kit. Everything fits pretty good, except where that tube goes across and attaches to this tube. What I had to do is put a pie cut in it and bend that tube out, and then it lined up absolutely perfect. I had to bend it out that far, and I'm just going to weld it up. And also, I'm putting a V-band in right there. Instead of the crappy slip join like everybody wants you to do, I'm putting a V-band in it because V-bands are the greatest thing ever. It'll hold all the exhaust and everything, and it'll be good. Really time consuming to make everything fit right, but you only gotta do it once and then it's fit good. So this is stainless, and I'm welding it. All right, I cut this thing apart. That crossover tube, I cut it. I put my V-band in there after I measured the exact thickness of the V-band, took that away from the stainless steel tubing, cut a slit in it so I could bend it out so everything was perfectly square and true. Tightened it up over there and it turned right up perfect, and then I tacked and welded there and welded there. Now I can pull everything off and put final welds on it, and then that will be done. But let me get underneath and show you. It fits perfect now. It didn't hardly line up at all. Like it was off probably ½ inch. But now, that's perfect. It was right across and right straight up there, perfect. You take that V-band loose, take the whole thing off. All right, I got that all welded, got the flange welded, got that big gap welded. All right, back over here at John's, working on the Ventura some more. This thing is taking forever to do. Just hours and hours and hours and hours of cleaning and fixing and painting and fixing and fitting and making things work. But I'm getting there. It's just very time consuming. Just making sure everything's right. Plus it's so hot, middle of summer like this. Whew. I got the fan going. But still, I got the fan going and the door's open. It's still like 100 and something in here. But engine mounts, the lower side of the mounts are welded all the way around, welded in good. That tube is welded. I put a V-band on it. I put the V-band on this other side, and I've got the drain tube for the turbo finally figured out. I have to grind this flange, probably take a 1/16 of an inch off that flange so that that's not touching. Then I'll be able to slip the tube on, slip the AN line on it, and run it down to the return. But like I said, just very time consuming. I got the fuel system done. After I get this tube and stuff on, I can slap the water pump and all that stuff on it. Put the radiator and stuff in, and then I can wire it. Once I wire it, man, get it fired up. I got to do the oil feed inside, and I have to do just the wire and stuff and all that for inside. Still got to get converter bolts, got to bolt the converter up, got to put the shifter linkage in, put the shifter in, drill holes with that seat back, do the drive shaft. It's just, man, it's a lot of stuff to do. Pretty much building an entire car. That's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm building this whole car. I'm gonna get it done. It's just, people don't realize what all goes into doing something. Like people think you can just slap stuff on and it's good to go. No, not the case at all. This takes a lot of time and a lot of work to do. I'm gonna keep doing it because I said I'd do it, so I'm gonna get it done. It's just taking longer than what I'd hoped. A lot longer. The car was just in not very good shape, not safe. So we keep plugging along. All right, I got the V-band welded, I got the flange fixed, I got the feed, the oil feed perfectly square and straight. I got the oil drain perfectly straight. See, the oil drain comes out and straight down to there. Out and straight down, so this should drain fantastic, shouldn't smoke or nothing like that. And it can't flex or move or hit nothing hot. It's got plenty of clearance all the way around, so that's good. But I had to grind this flange right down here on the T4 flange, grind it, put a notch in it so that the AN fitting would clear. There's like probably 20 thousandths of clearance between that and that AN fitting. But it's on there and everything's working, so got the oil feed, the oil return. So it's a huge thing to have that fixed. Alright, I cleaned and painted the radiator. I cleaned and painted the retainer plate. Got the fan, the water pump, and all that stuff on it. Got to slide the shroud over, then do the radiator, and then I can bolt all that stuff up. And then that will be in for the last time. Then I got to figure out how to build brackets to mount this power steering pump. Alright, I had to kind of maneuver things a little bit and position things a certain way, but I got all that to fit with a 383 small block and a Pontiac. All the original stuff. It's all cleaned up, painted, nice and neat. And I use self-tap screws on the top sides to tap into that top support bracket. And it's got dowels on the lower side that lock in, so it can't move. It's all painted and clean. I even taped over this and painted around it so that would still be there. Yeah, that looks killer. So I gotta put the alternator and figure out this tube right here looks like that lower radiator hose. Looks like it's gonna work fine. So I'm getting there. Stuff just takes a long time. But I'm probably gonna stop right there and come back in probably 2 or 3 hours, let it cool off a little bit. It is so hot here now. So I'm gonna stop right there and then come back a little later when it's cooling off a little bit because it is so hot. All right, radiator hose. I had to cut probably, yeah, right there. I cut probably 5 inches off of that thing, and it worked perfect. So, top radiator hose thick like a champion. I didn't have to cut the lower radiator hose. It worked fantastic. So that is awesome. Still got to put the alternator on it and then figure out a deal for that power steering, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. All right, I'm back over here. It's been probably about 3 hours. It's about 5:45, 6 o'clock now. I'm looking at my phone to see. But come a big old rainstorm, cooled off a bunch. So I'm going to get back at it and see if I can make a little bit more progress. He texted me earlier and was like, is that the final carburetor? No, this is not the carburetor. Carburetor's over there. I'm going to mill the choke down and do a bunch of stuff to make it a blow through. So I will film all that on the modified. I just threw this together for a naturally aspirated deal. It'll be all cleaned and polished and all that. So it'll be good. I might even do the meter and blocks black. Meter and blocks black and a linkage and stuff black. I don't know. Kind of tie everything together. But I'm gonna keep trucking. See what else I can get done today. Alright, got the alternator and stuff on. I had to take this back section apart, rotate it around to where this bracket would work, but it all worked nice and in line. So that should work fine. And that is the original alternator off of the Pontiac 350. Like I said, I just had to take the back section apart, flip it, and put it back together. But that's on there. I think I'm going to move on to put the starter on it and start doing some wiring. Alright, I got the wiring and stuff to the alternator, field wire, exciter wire, the feed wire back to the battery off the back of the alternator. Got the distributor stuff in, I got the distributor wired up. Just got to do the plug wires. I had to move the hat so that I could do all that. Alright, back over here at John's, 7:30. Fix and jump on this thing and see if I can get it wired and maybe get it fired. Alright, I got the fuel pump wired up. I got it wired into the ignition switch so that when you hit the key, that sends the power to the fuel pump. Big heavy gauge, 12 gauge wire. Run out, tucked, follows the fuel line. It's right down here to the pump. It powers the pump, and there's the ground right there. So, should work good. Well, I got the starter on, everything wired. I gotta leave Carlos at work, and they just got robbed. This world, dude, it's beyond me. Like, people are going in with guns and shooting places up, and people are robbing places. And there was a pharmacy over there getting robbed, and these people need to be hung. They need to be drug out and hung. It's just beyond anything. Used to be a time when people had respect for one another and would never dream of doing stuff like this. I don't care how bad things got. You wouldn't go out and rob people or try to get pills or whatever. That's just... Yeah, everybody says that these addicts got a disease. That's true. You know what the cure is? A bullet. But anyway, my battery's in. I got my cables and stuff run on nice and neat. Battery cable runs around the front right there. Probably should have looped that behind that bracket. All right, I got everything hooked up. I stuck the ground on and fuel pump clicked right on, so I got my fuel pressure gauge right there. This is just a temporary one. I'm gonna have one that runs up. That way we'll be able to watch fuel pressure all the time. This right here is just my one that I use for just setting base pressure on pretty much everything. I use it for boost too. But anyway, I block this line off so that if it does get fuel pressure, and if it is more than like 6 or 7, it won't flood the carburetor and flood the engine. So got that blocked, hooked up. Just gotta hook the battery up, then flip the pump on. Hopefully there's enough fuel in this thing to actually pick up fuel and, you know, get some pressure. So yeah, I'm gonna hook the battery up and test that. All right, I know the yellow plug wires look awful, but like I said, that's all I got right now, and I had to make sure that these are gonna be the right length. This is a good set of plug wires. These are Axel. It's just they're yellow. But that set of plug wires, same ones, just in the black, will fit and work good. So I'm gonna get that same part number, just in black. But like I said, all the black ones are on back order. I could have got blue like that, but I don't like blue. So the yellow looks better than the blue. But plug wires are on it, so it should start. All right, I figured I'd slide under here and show everybody underneath this crossover tube and all this other stuff. So there's the crossover pipe that I cut and made fit. See, there is the V-band where it goes up. Well, there's the mini starter. You can see how to clock the mini starter. It's a tiny and expensive mini starter, but I had to get the lightest, smallest one I could find. They work really well. But you got to get one that clocks, otherwise that V-band, if you put a V-band on these right there, it'll hit. So you got to get one that clocks the solenoid. This is just a ground, an old body ground I got to put somewhere. But my exhaust is going to come out of the turbo and turn down right through there. Come out, probably dump right here, or dump out, I don't know. Probably just dump straight down. But there's the pump, and the wiring for that, and there's the whole fuel system run back. Everything, I cleaned everything, I painted everything. Got to get the dipstick in for the transmission, and a few other things. Got to tighten this up all the way. Tighten that up, tighten that up. It's cool. It almost feels like it's my car. Like doing all this and doing this, that, and the other, and building the engine and putting the engine in and making it fit and wiring everything. It's just pretty cool. So it almost makes it feel like it's my car. Because I built her. Sure, everybody out there can relate to that. When you work on something enough, you feel attached to it. This is a cool car. Put a lot of heart and soul in it. All right, cool. That's a wrap right now. I'm going to make me a list of stuff I got to order, and get some gas and come back over here later. Probably tomorrow. I'll probably go over to Carrie's and help him with his car a little bit. So, cool. That's a wrap for right now. Alright, back over here messing with Ventura. And got 5 gallons of 93 to put in this. The gas prices have got to go down soon, man. This is ridiculous. Anyway, I could have put 87 in if I wanted to, but I don't want 87 fuel in the lines when this thing's going to be getting boosted and all that. So, we got 5 gallons of 93. I'm going to throw that in there. Then I'm going to hook the fuel pump and stuff back up and set my fuel pressure. I know on these bypass style regulators, you got to go 3 psi higher on fuel pressure. That's what we had to do on Colton's S10. That's what I had to do on Carrie's yesterday. Because as it's bypassing, if it says 9 psi or 8 psi, it's actually 5 psi. So you got a 3 psi difference with a bypass style. I'm going to start making some exhaust. I'm going to do the fuel pressure thing first, put fuel in it and all that, and then I'm going to start making some exhaust. That way I can hear this thing with the exhaust system on it. that I can send a video to John and he can hear it, because he wants it loud. Like I told him, the turbo's not going to be that loud. I mean, you can hear them coming. They're louder than regular cars, but they're not like open headers. So he wants it as loud as we can possibly make it. And I mean, that's cool. I had cars that were pretty much had race mufflers on them, run right off the header, and it's so loud, sounded so good until you start driving it and driving it and driving it. Like I was driving the 74 every day with a tunnel ram and all that stuff on it. Man, the noise is awesome, but it gets old. You're sitting there and you can't hear ambulances coming, you can't hear fire trucks, and the thing's just rattling all the time. So that's why I love the turbo. Like my 74 with a single turbo on it, it's quiet enough to sit around in traffic and all that stuff, and it sounds good. But it's not like overly loud. When you get in the throttle, you can hear it. But you can hear that thing coming down the road, like Colton's S10, you can hear it coming. It's good. So I'll get it I'll tailor it to what he wants. But I need to have the exhaust long enough to put a oxygen sensor in it for the wideband, so that I can read the AFRs and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I got the fuel system working. Everything's working good. 8 psi fuel pressure. Everything's hooked up. I thought that might leak a little bit, but no, not a drop. So that's awesome. I can uncover that. I need to put some coolant in it, and I still got to build the exhaust, but I just wanted to make sure everything was working. Set this thing. There, I set it right here. I set it right here. You should be able to hear it. Fuel pump. Once I get the exhaust on it, that big old loud bloop, bloop, bloop is because I don't have the wastegate on it. I got to put the exhaust on and the wastegate, hook the hat and stuff up. I'm probably going to throw the hat and stuff on it right fast and put some water in it. But everything's working. Oh man, that tickles me. All this work and work and work and put it in this thing for it to do that. I'm pumped. Oh, it's freaking loud too. It'll be a little quieter than that, but it's still pretty loud. Man, the thing sounds good. Just cool. All right. That's awesome. I am pumped up on that. And check this out. I put 2 gallons of gas in this. I still got the other 3 gallons I still got to dump in it. But I just want to see if the since I fixed the sender unit and all that stuff, I want to see if it's working, and it is working great. 2 gallons is right about half of a quarter. So, and there was actually 2 gallons already in it, because I think these things store 2 gallon when they get to E, so you can make it to a gas station. But I'm going to dump the rest of that in there and see how far she comes up. But that was something that he really wanted. He wanted to be able to have the sending unit work and everything work. And I got an adapter that goes from this cable to the Turbo 400 trans. It goes in the side. It wasn't cheap, but it goes in there and it hooks to the original speedo, so we'll be able to use the original speedometer. So that'll be cool too. I might get another set of these gauges. Because this one's boogered up. I might just get one, get a water temperature, leave the other ones. This is how you got to build turbo exhaust. Like, you got to take a piece, take this piece to something, and that piece of something, cut, bend, move, tweak. That's going to roll in, turn right down into the car. So, and it's long enough for me to get a wideband in, or an O2 sensor. Probably put an O2 sensor right here somewhere. All right, I got the exhaust built. Goes down and turns. I'll probably run it down another maybe foot or so and get a little bit more further under the car. But that's it right there basically. Comes out, turns, curves around, goes straight on down. I'm going to put some of that heat wrap around it. Clean it all up and paint it and put some heat wrap around it. Like it looks like that because it's made out of old exhaust. So it's thick, heavy duty exhaust, big truck exhaust, but still it's old exhaust, so it's will be cleaned up, but it'll be painted and wrapped and everything else, so it don't really matter. But I'm going to fire it up and see what it sounds like with the exhaust on it. Here it is with the exhaust on it. Alright, over here working on the Ventura again. Got the seat and stuff out, the seat belts and stuff out, fixing to pull this carpet out, put a new carpet in it for him. And I got to relocate the seat back probably 2 inches. That's about as far back as I can go, back to here. And then I'll move it back to here, and that'll give him even more adjustment. So I'm going to do that. Getting the axles and stuff out, all that stuff to put the new axles in. I don't know if I'll get the axles done. I'll probably get the carpet stuff done today. But I tell people all the time I got to drive this thing to work in. Like, that's what I do with it. I just drive it and I use it to work and everything like that. I literally work out of the car. See, there's my carb stuff, tools, time-of-lap multimeter, tap set, poly jet box. Back here I got my tool bag. Tool bag, drill bits, fittings. There's a new fuel cell with a big old massive fuel system on this thing. But yeah, this is what his car is going to be. Sort of the same thing built by the same person. Pretty cool. That one flies. This will be faster than mine. Well, as of right now, his will be faster than mine. But when I'm done with what I'm doing, there's going to be very few things faster than my car. It's pretty fast now. But just driving her all over the place. But get back to work over here. I got to charge this camera. Alright, I got all the carpet out and everything cleaned out, swept out. I didn't have my vacuum, so I had to just sweep it. But yeah, not too bad. Floor's in pretty good shape. There's a lot of dirt and a lot of rocks in here. And over $1 and like 16 cents or 18 cents. So I told John he can retire now. No need to worry anymore. He's got the money. Well, I'm going to put this carpet in there. This stuff is where it was rolled up. I'll vacuum all that off. Alright, well, I've marked my places. This is where the seats were originally mounted. This is where they're going to be mounted now. I was able to get 2 inches, the max of 2 inches back further with the seat, and so that'll be 2 inches further away from the wheel all the way back in there. If I go any further, it's going to mess up the seat belts, and it'll actually almost probably be into the back seat. If I go much further than that, and plus the way it rolls off, I can't really go any further than 2 inches. Now, ask any woman, an extra 2 inches matters. Oh, but anyway, yeah, that's about as far back as I can go. John's a big dude. He's like 6'6", so he wants as much leg room and gut room as he can get in here. So I'm gonna bring that hole back 2 inches there, 2 inches there, mark it and drill my hole, and then I'm gonna take a nut and put a nut down in there and weld the nut into place so it's all solid to the floor. Instead of just tapping it, I'm going to weld a nut into the floor. So That should work. We'll see here in a little while. Alright, so this is what I've done. I took nuts and I drilled and countersunk them and then welded around. So the bolts will go through. It's got the thickness of the floor and then the thickness of the bolt and then the weld around it. So it makes them a whole lot stronger than just some little tapped pieces that run to the floor. I got this side and that side done. Now I'm going to slap some paint on them and then lay the carpet down and put the seat and stuff back in. Alright, I got the back section in. All my holes are made. Hooked up his wiring and stuff back up to the seat belts like it's supposed to be. Real small holes. Everything nice and neat and tucked and good. So now I got to do the front section, put the holes for the seat, put that panel back up there. Then I can put the seat in and then I can do these trim panels. It's coming along nice. Alright, there it is. All the panels back in. Dimmer switch up through the floor. I got to vacuum that. It's from where it was packaged. That stuff on the bottom side was rolled up and it got on the carpet. But all that'll vacuum right off. All the trim pieces are back in. Belts are back in. Everything is where it needs to be. I wonder if I can close this door here. Get the sun off of it, it'll probably look better. There we go. Looks good. It's really good. I'm not an interior man. It's not what I'm into. But I've done this for him. It wasn't really up my alley, but he got a moldy carpet, and I told him I'd put it in there. Since I was relocating the seat, he called me, or he texted me and said, since we're relocating the seat, would it be better to get a new piece of carpet? And I'm like, yes, because that other one's going to expose over 2 inches of the floorboard. So these used to be up here. This used to be up here. So now everything is moved back, so the seat's going to be further back and lean back a little further. So it'll give him a lot more driving room. But you can see this old piece of carpet, man, it was shot. So, looks good, looks bad. Alright, that's the old carpet. You can see how bad it was. But here we go. Seat is now located 2 inches further back in every setting. Like where it was all the way forward, it's now 2 inches back further from that. So he's basically sitting in the back seat back here. Seat belts still work. You see where it's touching that right there, just barely. Just barely on it. But seat belts will still work. Still get in and out of it and all that stuff, and it's still adjustable. It's just way far back now, which, here, I'll give you an idea. Look at this. See, I'm just way back here. Like, this is full on like laid back cruise position. Yeah, see, that gives you any idea how far back this thing is. But that's what he wanted, so that's what I've done. There you see, we're sitting in the back here. The cool carpet looks great. So, things should be good to go. Now on to finishing up everything. Got to do the rear end and stuff. I thought I might be able to get to that today, but no. This carpet stuff took a long time. But it looks good. It looks really good. I'm impressed with it. So, cool. And this is one of the molded carpets from Summit. I think it's like 180 bucks or something like that. All good.